There we go. Don't be a dummy and forget to turn on the recorder again. It would be the second time in a row. All right. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Smoke and Steel podcast, brought to you by StogieReview.com. Now, this is a supplemental episode because I'm probably not going to wait to post this to the end of the line. And it's got some significance that would make a difference early on. If you're an early adopter to the podcast, you're invested. This video might be kind of useful, and it's worth pointing out very early on that if you're looking for a quick update or you think that this is going to be a quick update, you're in the wrong place. So buckle in, motherfucker. So I guess the best place to start is probably a little bit of a prequel. And it's kind of important to understand the dynamics of our group. So, several years ago, there was a bunch of us that started hanging out in a cigar lounge. We got kind of close. We wound up sort of branching out, going other places. And there's been a core group of us that have stuck together over the years. So first, Mark and I started hanging out in a social club, and not terribly long after we started doing that, Eric entered the fold. Eric was, again, all of these people are people that we hung out with at the cigar shop. And then after Eric was Jim. After Jim was the other Eric. After the other Eric was Mike. Then after that there was Preston. Then Rob was in there somewhere. And then I think the last guy to join our group was Eddie. So 9 people total. We have this giant group chat or group text on our phones. And under normal circumstances, we try to hang out once a week. Now, with the world being what it is and schedules and whatnot, we all can't get together all the time. But the 4 of us, the core 4, if you want to call it that, me, Mark, Eric, and Jim, we rarely miss a Tuesday. We generally hang out on Tuesdays, and then sometimes, if the stars align, we might actually hang out on a Thursday as well. Now, I'm typically not available on Thursdays, family stuff going on, but every once in a while, I'm able to make a Thursday. And then, you get this core group of people, this 4, and then enter and exit other people from the group as their family of lives and everything they've got going on sort of works in and out of the schedule. So last night was Thursday, and we got together at the social club. So going around the table in a clockwise fashion, it was me, Eddie, Eric, Mark, Jim, Rob, and Preston. So there was 8 of the 9 guys were there. It's very unusual that happens. It was a very rowdy bunch. It was loads of fun. And the last guy to get there was Eddie. Now, you've heard, or maybe you haven't heard Eddie's name yet. It is on future episodes of the podcast. He's a kind of a key component in all of this. And when he walked in, he and Eric are good friends. And, Eric says, Eddie's our number 1 fan. And I start talking to Eddie a bit. He shakes my hand. He says, when we hang out, we don't talk a whole lot, but I feel like I know everything about you. I've watched every single episode lately, and I'm really into it. And he gave me the biggest compliment he possibly could have, probably without even knowing it. He said, when I put the episodes on, I put them on in my truck and I listen, and I feel like I'm right there with you. He said, I catch myself from time to time trying to jump into the conversation, and I probably look like a crazy person talking to myself in my truck, not thinking that, like we're not there live. It's just, I get wrapped up in the conversation, and it's so much fun. And I think, wow, man, that is the single biggest compliment you could have given us, because that is the goal. Now, during this conversation, as the night went on, the question was asked, what is the goal of the podcast? Like, what are you guys trying to accomplish, sort of big picture? And I didn't really have a solid answer on that question. I wound up leaving on my way home. I'm thinking about it. Later on that night, I'm like tossing and turning in bed. I can't sleep, and this kind of my mind starts to wander, and this question comes back up, and I'm thinking about it some more. And then this morning, I get up, and while I'm on autopilot, getting ready for work, making coffee, the question pops back up into my mind, and I think I finally figured out what it is that I want out of the podcast. And there are a couple of branches to this thing, and I thought, well, you know what? The best thing to do would be to record a video, smoke a cigar, sit out in my garage, and talk to you about it so that you can understand, as an early adopter or someone that's invested, you can get some clarity on what it is that we're trying to accomplish here. So I think the first thing to talk about is sort of like the big picture, the main trunk. Like, what is the core value or the essence of the podcast? And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm pretty sure that we're all in agreement here. And this is something that goes back, for me, it goes back years ago. When Stogie Review was like firing on all cylinders, was really popular, I got the opportunity to talk to an awful lot of people online through the comments, video comments, StogieReview.com blog comments, social media, meeting people in person at events like Cigar Fest and famous as Cigarnival and whatnot. And one of the things that came up surprisingly frequently was people really liked what we were doing because they felt like they were part of it. And they would tell me, you are so lucky to have such like active shops in your area. I live in such and such an area in such and such a state, and I have to drive 45 minutes to get to this to the closest thing that we have, and it's a cabinet full of cigars nestled in between the cigarettes and the lottery tickets, and that's the extent of what we get out there. And it was a high compliment from these people to find out that when they're watching stuff on Stogie Review that they feel like they're there, and it's not that it's a substitute for having a shop, but it's kind of a substitute for having a shop. That's always kind of stuck with me. And when the opportunity presented itself to create a podcast, my goal was to almost like bottle being in a cigar shop, that camaraderie, that friendship, and then put it out there to people that may not have a similar atmosphere, where you can sit in with the guys, bust some balls, have share a few laughs, have some thoughtful conversation, all sort of blended together. And that to me is the purpose of the podcast, to reproduce a cigar lounge sort of atmosphere without all the pomp and fluff. Just guys hanging out, having a good time, and providing that experience to people that may not have it, or maybe you do have it, but you just want to hang out with someone different. Whatever the case may be, whatever brings you in, that is the goal, to have that boiled down friendship and camaraderie amongst a group of cigar enthusiasts. And when I got that compliment from Eddie, when he said that he felt like he was there, it was like, yes, we nailed it. This was the objective of the podcast, and we are doing it perfectly. Like we it's great. We've got everything going for us that we had planned, and I'm super happy about that. So that aspect of the podcast, I am thrilled with. But there are a couple of other avenues that I think are also worth exploring. So the next path, I think, is quality. It's you can go on a variety of websites, a variety of services, and you can watch cigar podcasts that are very polished, they're well done, they follow a format. There's a group of people, whether it's 2, 3, 4, whatever. They're smoking the same cigar. They're doing a formal review. They're transitioning from the cigar to industry news. Then they're transitioning back to the cigar, and then they're pivoting to providing information or education, and back to the cigar. And it all wraps up in this beautiful, nice package of well-rounded podcast that features a cigar and it provides maybe some entertainment, definitely some information, definitely some education. And those things are wonderful, but that is not what we are. That is not what we want to be. I mean, we can have glimpses of that mixed in, but really, it's all about the camaraderie, the friendship, and some good-natured ball busting from time to time. So, like with that in mind, we're sitting in my garage. I don't want to say I've got shit everywhere, but I got shit everywhere. There's things out here that just don't belong. It's a garage. It's a storage space. It's kind of where I hang out. My motorcycles are in the background. It's like that sort of thing. So it is never going to be, unless I unless I do a major renovation. The quality of the video out here is never going to be more than a couple of guys sitting in a garage. So I am totally okay with the video being a little grainy, the lights flickering from time to time, the multi-use camera that I'm using so that I can get a nice wide-angle shot and move it as people talk. But there is one thing that kind of bugs me, and that is the audio situation. We are trying to remedy that. I understand, and you'll notice it more as you listen to future episodes, that me and the guys sit down on one end of the table, and we ran into a situation where, well, I guess let me back up a little bit. So I mentioned that there's 9 of us in this group chat, and when the Smoke and Seal podcast was first discussed, I really wasn't sure how this whole thing was going to come together. I knew that we had some conversations, and we joked about maybe recording something, doing something, and it was, I don't want to say it was rejected. Maybe it was like lukewarm, like, yeah, that'd be cool, kind of passive. But it hooked me, and I was really interested in getting it off the ground. So I knew that I would be involved. I knew that there was a really good chance that I would get Eric involved, and he would be excited. And that was 2 of us, but the core group is 4 guys. Mark is a guy that I wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be into it. He's a very reserved, private guy. I mean, we had to strong arm him into getting Discord. So prior to Discord, he has had virtually zero, or actually zero, social media footprint. He's just that sort of guy, quiet, reserved, private. So I really wasn't sure how he was going to feel about doing a podcast, putting himself out there in public. And when I approached him, I almost, one part of me thought, all right, wait, he might do this because we're asking him to do it and he's our friend, but he may not be totally into it. I'm not really sure how this is going to go. Turns out, he seems to really be into it. He seems to enjoy himself. But, we weren't really sure. And then Jim is, he's a very no nonsense kind of guy. He's the type that has the failing filter, where you'll say something or you'll ask him a dumb question, he'll look you dead in the face with that deadpan look of his, and just say, I don't have time for your bullshit, or it's just, he's that type of guy. So having him interested in doing a podcast, I really wasn't sure if he was going to be into it. It's just that no nonsense type about him. I really wasn't sure if he was going to be into it, even though years and years ago, he did do a couple of blind tastings with me back in the old Sir Stogie days. When I was going to a couple different shops doing blind tastings, Jim was involved in all of the blind tastings that I did at Sir Stogie's. So, I knew he had been open to it before, but we'd kind of have to ask him and play it by ear. Well, it turns out he's really into it, and it's fun to see how into it he is. And so we got this group of 4, and before I got the commitment from everyone, I'm the type that just dives in with both feet. I wound up ordering a Zoom PodTrack P4, which is a 4-channel mixer. I bought a whole kit: microphones, headphones, mic stands. Like it's the works for a four person podcast. And I thought that there's no way I'm going to outgrow this thing. At the very worst, it'll be me and Eric, and so what? We have two channels that don't get used, or maybe one channel gets used for a guest or something. At best, all four of us are into it, and we max out the mixer. Who cares? And at that point, we use up all the channels. So, as it turns out, because we have this group chat with 9 people, and we're all local, and we all hang out, and we have this sort of revolving door policy where you come out, you hang out, or you don't. Like you do whatever your schedule dictates whether or not you can hang out with us. It's totally fine. We've wound up exceeding the mixer's capabilities, which creates problems on my end, and it bugs the shit out of me that not everyone has a mic. So you wind up with like Rob at the end, who's providing like a very interesting point of view, and the mics are barely picking him up. So that bugs me. And I never really thought it was going to be a problem. So we're trying to make these little incremental adjustments to try to make improvements, especially on the audio front. I would really love for everyone to get their own microphone, but I really don't want to invest more money just yet, and that's kind of another avenue that we'll talk about next. But things like the audio are one of those things that we're trying to make small incremental changes to improve the show long term. And I'm going to plug my stuff in before it dies. What was I saying? We're trying to make small incremental improvements, and we're doing that kind of across the board. We realized in the earlier episodes there was a lot of like banging. I'm sitting at one of those folding tables. It's hard plastic. It's kind of noisy. And Mark kind of went out on his own and bought these big black mats made out of like this sort of rubberized material. You put it in the bottom of like tool chests or on shelves. And it's done a great job of kind of deadening some of the sound. There have been a lot of little adjustments like that are we're trying to make small incremental changes, small incremental improvements to the podcast. On the audio front, I have a secondary sound recorder that I started setting up to try to capture the far end of the table without having to buy a bigger mixer yet. I think that is effectively what I'm going to have to do at some point, but for now, just trying to make do with what we've got. So we've got ground to cover on the quality front, but like I'm not trying to produce a polished podcast that's perfect visually, audio. Like I don't really. We're in my garage again. I don't really care about the video quality a ton, but what I want is for you to be able to hear everyone and be a part of that conversation and not wonder like, hey, all the guys are laughing. What the hell did the guy on the end say? Because I didn't hear a word he said. That sort of thing. So I am like so far off track here. I'm sort of losing my train of thought. I'm trying to kind of wrap it up and get back to the point. So the overall goal of the podcast, in terms of quality, is for you to be able to hear everyone clearly and not miss a comment, a joke, a piece of information. Like I want you to be able to hear everyone, and that is the quality goal. I'm not terribly concerned with the visuals. There's shit on the wall back there. Not literal shit, but like there's like a grass seed behind me because I was fixing some patches in my yard. But again, audio is something I want improved. Too much talking. My cigar keeps going out. So the last part of the last path that I think we need to go down for it, as far as the goals of the podcast go, are financial, and that's kind of it's a topic that no one really wants to talk about, especially me. But what the hell? We'll kind of go down that road. So I'm not looking to make a ton of money doing this podcast. I would be completely happy if we just broke even. So as I mentioned, I bought this four channel mixer. All this whole setup cost me about $500. Stogie Review has ongoing hosting expenses that I've just been paying out of pocket for years. It would be really nice if there was another couple $100 I didn't have to pay out. Every once in a while, we're going to need upgrades. It would be really nice if there was maybe a little surplus to offset some of those costs. So I'm not looking to make big bucks with this podcast, but it would be really nice if I didn't have to keep shelling out of my own pocket to pay for things. And that is going to be a difficult road to go down, just because of the nature of cigars. Tobacco products are they're not treated very well on a platform like YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel. We're trying to grow our audience there, and there are options to monetize your channel under normal circumstances. Once you get 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, YouTube will run ads on your channel, and you will get a portion of the ad revenue back per 1,000 plays. So under normal circumstances, you can make a couple of bucks by monetizing your YouTube videos. Well, because YouTube has a problem with cigars, they will not monetize the content. So we'll never see ad revenue from a cigar video on YouTube. And to make things even worse, they won't allow you to sell cigars either. Not that we want to sell cigars, but if I were to say, oh man, this cigar is fantastic, you should go to our affiliate and buy it, like, that's a problem because I'm promoting the sale of tobacco. So I can't do that. I can't make any money on the monetizing end, sell with the ad revenue. So it makes generating any sort of revenue from YouTube very, very difficult. Not unless we sell direct sponsorships or direct advertisements. So like EPC could reach out to us. Hey, EPC, and they could throw a couple of bucks our way, and we could talk about them or run some sort of commercial or advert during the podcast, and that's how we could make a couple of bucks on like the YouTube front. Spotify also has some monetizing options, but I am not entirely sure how they handle the tobacco end of it. So I don't know if there are options to gain some ad revenue there. But the primary source of any sort of revenue from the podcast, Stogie Review in general, is to purchase cigars through our affiliate links, which you can find on stogiereview.com. Down at the bottom of this post on Stogie Review, you will very likely see a banner for one of our affiliates. And unless, of course, you're running an ad blocker or something, which, hey, I don't blame you if you do. But anytime you make a purchase through one of those links, you are helping support the site. It doesn't cost you anything. We make a small commission. I think the affiliate that we use is Cigar Page, and I believe their commission rate is like 4 or 5%. We also got an invite to join the JR Cigars affiliate program. However, I haven't bought cigars from JR in years, and it's very important to me that anyone that we work with, I can confidently stand behind, and I've spent a lot of money with Cigar Page. There have been very, very few occasions where I've been disappointed, and I'm confident that if I recommend you make a purchase through them, that you're going to have a good experience. I mean, collectively, the core, the group of 9 of us, we've probably spent tens of thousands of dollars through through them. And unfortunately, it hasn't been through the affiliate links. But so yeah, that's like the primary source of revenue at this point. So if you are interested in supporting the show and you don't mind clicking through an affiliate link, head on over to Stogie Review, click on one of those links, and then make your purchase. We'll earn a couple of bucks, you'll support the site, and it won't cost you a dime. And I suppose there's I have to double check before I put a link down below. But there are donation services. So if you really enjoy what you're seeing and you want to help support the site, you want to kick us a couple of bucks through a donation, buy us a cigar or buy us a coffee. If the program works and doesn't have issues with tobacco products, that link will be down below. I really hate asking for donations. If you don't want to donate, please do not donate. It's just it's one of those things I really don't like asking for things like that. But it is an option. I know some people really enjoy doing it. It's 100% up to you. Quite frankly, the best way that you could support the show in general is to tell your friends about the show so that they can listen. Maybe they'll buy a few things through our affiliate program, and we grow our audience, we grow our base. It allows us to do more things. Well, the camera just power cycled on me, which tells me that we've been recording for 30 minutes. It's an awful lot of talking. My cigar's gone out several times throughout this process. But I think we've hit all of the key points here. We talked about the core group of people that you can expect to see on the podcast on a revolving basis. I think for the most part, it's going to be us four hosts. Most of the time, there may be an occasion where one guy can't make it and there's three of us, but it seems like there will always be at least one person revolving as a guest. And I mean, I think every podcast has had at least five. Well, five the first episode. I think the second one we recorded as a group, there were six of us. On this Tuesday, there were seven of us. My driveway was starting to look like a parking lot. The cars were just really packed together and everywhere out there. But anyway, I think that's a really good rundown of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. Again, I don't want to speak for everyone. We can have this discussion again, amongst the group. It will probably be much more brief, more abbreviated. But we covered what I'm hoping to see the podcast be sort of as a big picture thing, what I'm looking for in terms of quality, and finally what I'm really hoping to see in terms of a financial end or a monetized end of things. And if you're down, keep watching, tell your friends, and we will catch you in the next one.